All right, welcome back to another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast, where we spotlight the dreamers who rise above limits, take brave steps forward, and build success on their terms. I'm your host, Jennifer Loehding, and wherever you are tuning in today, we are so glad to have you. So let me ask you this question today. What if loneliness wasn't something to avoid, but a gateway to discovering who you really are? My guest today made a bold decision to leave behind comfort and convention, choosing instead to explore the world and herself through solo travel. What she found along the way just might change how you view freedom, connection, and courage. And so I am so excited to chat with her. She's such an amazing woman. I love her spirit, and she's beautiful. And I can just tell I wish we were in the same place, because I think we would be great friends. But you guys are going to get to hear from her in just a few minutes. But before I do that, I do need to do a quick shout out to our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Walt Productions. Need to add excitement to your YouTube videos or some expert hands for editing? Look no further. Walt Mills is the solution you've been searching for. Walt is not only your go-to guy for spicing up content, he's the force behind a thriving film production company with numerous titles in the pipeline. Always on the lookout for raw talent, Walt is eager to collaborate on film and internet productions. With a background deeply rooted in entertainment and promotion, Walt Mills leverages years of skills to give you the spotlight you deserve. Want to learn more about Walt and his work? Head on over to waltmillsproductions.net and let your content shine. All right. And with that, I do want to tell you to head on over to startergirlz.com. I say this every single week. And why do I tell you that? Because one, if you have missed any episode, it is a great place to catch up on all of them. Even the ones in the beginning, you can find them there. It's also a great place to sign up for our community newsletter and, of course, keep in the know of what's coming out and what we're talking about. And then lastly, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, or maybe creator, you're already on the road and you want to know what may be impacting your success right now, I've got a free 2-minute quiz over there that I created. It is fun, and it will tell you what your number one success block is that may be impacting your success right now. So head on over to startergirlz.com and do what you need to do over there. All right. So let's get this thing rolling. My guest today, Tsvety Roo, a digital nomad, solo traveler, an inspirational voice for anyone navigating the discomfort of change or the weight of loneliness. After walking away from a high-powered career in New York City, Tsvety embraced minimalism and set out on a nomadic journey that's taken her through 22 countries and 37 destinations over the past 2 years. Along the way, she's discovered how the unknown can be our greatest teacher. Her story is one of transformation, vulnerability, and self-discovery, proving that sometimes the most radical act we can take is simply choosing ourselves. And so I am so excited, Tsvety, to welcome you to Starter Girlz Show. I know this is going to be an amazing conversation. So here we are. Welcome to Starter Girlz.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. By the way, your intro is incredible. I don't even know what else to say for the rest of the time here.
Those are fun. They're fun. I always have a great time crafting those things out. So I know, I feel like, I say this I think every week we have a little talk about these bios, but I'm like, maybe like in another life, that should be my job, is just to MC people, like just welcome people onto the stage kind of thing.
You would make a killing. You're so good. Thank you for having me. This is such an amazing opportunity. I can't wait for our conversation. It'll be epic.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So for our audience, before we got this thing airing, I asked Tsvety where she was at locally, and she said she's still in Bulgaria, but she's about to take off again. So Tsvety, tell us where you're headed. Tell our audience where you're headed next.
Oh, of course. Yes. So I'm currently in Bulgaria. It's Eastern Europe, right above Greece. I know a few folks with geography. It's just like, where is Bulgaria at?
Right.
Because a lot of the European countries are so small, and sometimes you're just a little bit like, oh, there's so many over there. And I'm headed to Croatia next, and I haven't been, surprisingly, with all my travels, and I can't believe I haven't hit that one up. And then I go to Slovenia, and then a little bit of Germany, back to Germany.
Fun. Yeah, how fun. I don't know if I shared with you, my one middle daughter got to go to Germany last year. And so my family, my grandmother was full-blooded German. And so we have a lot of German in our bloodline. And I think it's so cool. I have never been able to go there. Like so many people have been able to, and it's on my bucket list to travel there. But while she was there, I told her it was so funny because she was traveling the train system, and she said it was so hard to travel because there was no English. And of course, they're looking up on their phone all the German language. And she messaged me and she's like, "This is so hard." And I'm like, "Okay, just suck it up and go get me some gummy bears."
So she said this recently. Oh, there's so many people that speak English in Germany.
Yeah.
And also, my tip, of course, like if we're gonna dive into tips,
yes,
like
yes, we
translate.
will. Yes, we
Google
will
translate right away. I do the I get a SIM card, an eSIM. There's all the different ones you can get. Like an eSIM, you don't actually need the physical SIM card, but you can just like get it on your phone. And then from there, using that, you get internet. And from there, you can do Google Translate, which is obviously like just kind of scanning. And it just, if there's something you don't know, I mean, now these days, travel is it's so much easier than it's ever been.
Sure.
English is everywhere. I'm surprised that, everywhere you go.
I think it was just in the train station that she was talking about. Once she got out of the train station, yes, people spoke. I mean, I'm sure they spoke English in there. She just said they weren't all that friendly offering up information. And I've heard that. Like I said, we have German in our culture, so I've kind of heard that. She was like, they're not real friendly giving out the information there, so it is. It's all good. They had an amazing time. It's all good.
So I think a few countries would definitely fall into you have to start the conversation first.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's not, no one's going to come up to you. And most of the time, if you do start and if you are sort of asking like a vulnerable question, like, oh, I'm not sure where I am, people tend to want to help.
Yeah.
And that's pretty universal. And that's one of those things where it's amazing that like, one of the lessons also that I've learned is how much most of the time people are willing to help or are going to kind of go a little bit out of their way. And I have a story about this really fast. I know I'm going to jump into the story.
You're fine. You're fine. Go ahead. You're fine.
But I was in Valencia, Spain, because you don't say like the C, you say it with the th.
Valencia.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somehow I was using the metro, the public transport there, and I kind of like snuck in without. It was all a little confusing, and I just snuck in. So I got on and I was like, I wonder where to pay. Like I couldn't pay inside. You're supposed to pay when you enter, and when you leave, you're also supposed to kind of like scan the thing. But because it didn't register, like I don't know how I snuck in without paying for the entrance. But it didn't register. So it wasn't letting me out when I was like, I kept like hitting my credit card and I was just like,
you're like, help.
Help. I want to get out of this metro, please. I mean, I know I snuck in, but I didn't even see where, like, I don't know how I did it in the first place. So I'm just kind of looking around for like somebody. And this lovely lady with her daughter, they saw kind of like, please let me out. Look at my face. And so, they went over, they bought like a ticket and I was like, oh, let me give you some like money for this. And they're like, no. And they scanned it for me and they let me out. It was so sweet.
Wow. So nice. Amazing. Well, it's interesting because I was having this conversation with a couple people last week, how, so oftentimes we think different, and we're going to get into your story in just a minute, but I want to say this, how we think so people all over the world are very different than us, right? And really, yes, culture is different, demographics things are different, right? But we have the same universal needs, right? And so it's interesting, like I will talk to people from all over the world and I will be like, when I get done with the conversation, I'm like, wow, I'm like, they're so much like us, right? Because you realize that everybody really is alike, even though we live in very different places. We all have the same need for love and affection and caring for our families and having food and all the safety and, all the basic same things all over the place. And so it's kind of neat to have those.
And I would like to add to that human need for connection. What I would say is it's such a binder between all, a binding agent of sorts that between all of us. And that's one of the lessons. So I learned 3 things on my solo travels. And so the three things, and I love how I did this three, and then
Yeah.
in Germany it's like this, you know.
Okay.
For those listening,
Yeah.
kind of doing the three letters, and I know that there was like the movie with Quentin Tarantino that was like the big plot of the movie, the differences in the way
Yeah.
they did the trees. Anyway, side cultural notes, and it's so crazy. Okay, so the three lessons. So the first one is the transformation from loneliness to solitude, which had no idea those were even different things. So
Yeah.
we're going to get into that. Then second lesson is making these connections. Like I just mentioned, meaningful connections throughout the world with people that are from different backgrounds, different ages, just sort of having these deep conversations where we're both vulnerable, and I've never felt so seen in my life before, and by making these connections. And then the third one is embracing the fear.
Mm,
And so
right.
we can start with the first one, which is the reason why I started solo traveling, living basically out of a suitcase, sometimes a very small suitcase, because I just do even a carry-on one that I don't even take the big one.
Yeah.
I have a storage unit in San Diego, and to say I had a very traditional life is very true. I had the job. The job was in New York, but I was working out of San Diego, and I've been a graphic design for a long time. And I was sort of like, okay, I have a great job. I have a car. I love my car. I had a cute apartment in San Diego. Everything, check, check, check. Looked great on paper. Successful.
Yeah.
So much missing, so much emptiness inside, so much unfulfilled dreams. So it just so stuck in life. So everything from the outside looked good. Inside was just like nothing. I have numbness, all these symptoms of loneliness, all of this sort of like weight that I was holding on to, and it was. I'm getting emotional every time that I talk about it.
Yeah.
I get emotional because it was such a heavy, empty feeling, and I know a lot of people out there are experiencing this. And I know the statistics are crazy, and anywhere you look, it's like a third of the world is experiencing loneliness right now. As
Yeah.
crazy as it is. And so from that, I tried everything. I tried to go on as many dates so I can find a partner. I tried to, do working out. I focused only on work, like, especially in the States.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, just throw yourself into work and everything else will figure
Yeah.
itself out.
No, we know that doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just a recipe for burnout.
Right.
But and so I tried everything, and then finally I got to a point where I decided to take this long. Turned out it was a very meditative, introspective type of walk. It was 6 hours, San Diego, walking, beaches, streets, neighborhoods that I've never been to, but that's okay. And it was very therapeutic and cathartic, and I finally dug deep inside, and I asked myself basically three questions there's lots of threes now that I think about it.
We're on the threes today.
We're on the threes today. And it was, I feel like I had to pause for these ones. It was the first one, what made me feel alive?
Yeah.
I didn't know kind of how to ask myself that. And I thought that I was doing everything right. And I didn't know exactly where to even begin to find out what made me feel alive. And
Right.
then from then, kind of like, second question, what dream have I been stifling? What have I been putting in like the back burner? Like, well, when the time is right, that's when I'm going to do it. When everything else fits perfectly, that's when I'm going to do it. And so that was the second question. And then the third question is, what if I stopped waiting for permission to go after what I
Mm. Those are good questions. And you
and
know what? Nobody's taught to ask those questions. That's why they're difficult, right? Like we're not taught to do that.
right.
So
Yeah.
good for you.
Thank you. I mean, I've been ignoring them. They're just because they're so hard, and because
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, I've been doing the easier thing, which is like kind of following everyone's opinions and everyone's thing, but I never really dug deep. And I know it's so hard for people. And once I did that, it took another 9 months to actually book the flight.
Mm.
So I would say I wouldn't be saying like, oh, as a solo traveler, I decided to just change my life. Went on a walk, asked myself 3 questions, changed my life. No, it was a journey. It was like a 9-month baby. That
Did you have like just a defining moment then after that? Like, cause like when I talk about like these defining moments, like when I was stepping down from I was stepping down from a role position that I had, probably like you leaving a job. I was stepping down from what I felt like was at the time my high profile because I was in leadership. It took me like 6 months to make that decision. But then one day I woke up at like 5 in the morning and I remember sitting up in my bed and telling my husband, I was like, today's the day. And that was the day I made the decision that I was going to
yeah, it was
let it
one of
go.
the things. Yeah, I like you said, I think I was just at a point where I couldn't overthink about it anymore. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I could not, it was 9 months of overthinking. And I spoke to my therapist about it and I gave her this idea. And I'm sorry if you hear a baby, by the way.
It's totally fine because it's okay. We get it. I got stuff going on. I'm like trying to tune it out back. There's great. Thank goodness for quiet apps on things. You can shut things down.
Okay, sorry about that.
I can't even hear it. You're okay. I can't
Okay,
even hear it. It's fine.
and yeah, no, it was just very much like, oh, I am so it's enough. It's enough. I've overthought about it. I have to just book this flight now. Like I have to click the button. And I think that is the hardest part, which is what I try to help people with.
Yeah.
As if you do want to start traveling, it doesn't have to be as long as I have, or as extreme as I have, putting all your stuff into storage or anything. So this is what I try to help people through my website, one-on-one sessions, that you just have to take that first step, take that leap, just click, and you're
It's
gonna
a
follow through.
decision, right? It's just making that decision
Making
in
that
anything
decision.
really that we do in life. It's like just making that, because once you make it, I don't know about you, but like I'm assuming you probably feel the same way. I mean, I think most of us do kind of have the same. Once we make it, then it's like, okay, now it's like the decision's made. Now we have to just do what we need to do to support the decision. Right.
Exactly.
It's like that. It's like, because I don't know. It's like that crossing over. Is it the right decision? Not. Is it not? It's that weighing we're doing back and forth. Cause I think we don't want to fail. So then if we take accountability, right. But
Mhm.
here's a cool thing I want to say about that, Tsvety. I think because you've had to make these really bold, like,
Big
transitions,
changes.
that
Shift. Yeah.
yeah, you're okay. You're getting more comfortable with, okay, if it's not, I'm okay with it, right? Because I'm going to learn something while I'm there. I'm going to figure something out you know what I mean? You're
Mhm.
getting okay with that, because I think the more we make those, the more comfortable we become at accepting responsibility for our decisions. Either
Yes,
way,
you nailed it. You
yeah,
absolutely nailed it. I gave myself 3 months tops. I said, I'm only gonna last 3 months. Like, I had zero faith that I would be 2.5 years later. Or, now looking back, I was like, wait, that's not very nice.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I didn't have basically the belief in myself that I would last any longer than 3 months. And it just kept evolving, and it kept giving me, I kept growing as a person and sort of blossoming in ways that I wasn't able to in my traditional lifestyle that I had built for
yeah,
myself. And
yeah,
so, yeah, one of those big transformations, going from being lonely for many years. I lived in New York City, I lived in San Diego, beautiful cities, surrounded by people. Uh,
yeah,
Loneliness. There's something about being in these huge cities sometimes when you're far away from family, or you have very limited amount of friends, and it hits you that you're by yourself, but you're surrounded by so many people. And so there's something about that too. And then I was experiencing it for years, and then transforming it through solo travel is kind of spending that deliberate time by myself, for myself, and discovering new parts of the world and seeing and kind of growing as a person in that way just brought me back to myself.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. It's, I have a friend here, and I have lots of friends that have done traveling, but I have a friend here that was from Canada, and she talked about, I think when she was 18, she went on this whole solo travel thing for a long period, just basically backpacking by herself. And she said she learned so much doing that because she was, like basically kind of like this introvert, very scared of this, and then goes on this, and it made her become more confident. And I think there's so many
aspects.
I've not done this personally, but my kids, like I said, I told you offline, my kids are travelers, and I'm amazed at that they just, like when my daughter, my middle went, on her European travel. This was the first time she had traveled really outside of the States, and she went with a friend, and they just, like basically they flew into Ireland. They had a place when they got there, but they knew nowhere else they were going to stay beyond that. They flew into Germany. And basically they just traveled by, they had their suitcases, but they traveled and they found a location along the way, would stay there. And when they got ready to pack up to go to the next one, they would look for a location, hop on the train and go to the next place, and ended up going all the, from Germany, I think down to Switzerland, and then up into Paris, and then flew back into Amsterdam. And so it was like this whole just experience of them, and they had so much fun. And then she went to Japan and said she had a great time there. She loved Japan, thought that was just eclectic and fun, and they got to play, I guess they stay up all night there or something and have fun because she had a great time, but I think it's just made them very, I don't want to say it just gets you culturally aware of what's outside of the space that you're in.
Yes, it opens the world up to you, literally. I mean, it just you're seeing people who are also probably traveling, who are from different places. So not only are you kind of experiencing the new country you're in, but then another traveler comes in, and let's say, if they're in Germany, this traveler is from Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so you get to learn about Taiwan, and the way it's so much. It's fulfilling. I think it's super fulfilling. And then the whole idea about starting solo is because a lot of people my age, and I'm almost 40, and I know we've talked about this off camera, but it's a bit different than kind of the 22-year-old backpacking person,
Right.
because there was a lot more built up expectations for certain milestones that I had to hit at this age. And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as we get older.
Right.
To, well, why aren't you doing this? And et cetera, whatever those are. And then I had a lot of people kind of say like, well, aren't you too old to be doing this?
To travel?
And I was like, well, obviously nothing else has worked, guys. Like this is what I'm trying to get through for everybody. And the solo travel now opened up my eyes to myself, and also realizing what kind of life that fulfills me. And I didn't know that before. I didn't know the values that I was so strongly attached to. And now, like, you figure out your values. You figure out so many parts of myself have grown. So like you were saying, there's the level of adaptability everywhere. So you're traveling, you're going to have things that don't go quite as planned. And so I have to keep adapting and maneuver and figure out. And I'm a huge problem solver now.
Yeah, I bet. Imagine. Yeah.
And so when you see that your flight's delayed, you're probably going to miss your connecting one. You're just like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go to Vietnam right now.
Reroute. Yes. No,
Oh,
I
there's
agree.
so many
Yeah.
stories about like the universe basically navigating for me. There's a part where you just learn to let go, and I didn't do that as much before. I thought I had to control everything, and I was doing all of the things in order the safe, the comfort zone. That's part of you being controlling over your environment, the outcome, how how you lead your life. But now I've learned to sort of put my hands up sometimes and say, I probably should just let and see what happens here. Let things go. And maybe it wasn't meant for me to go to this country. Maybe it wasn't meant for me to, let's say, go to a specific other one. And it just, once I started to do that, some experiences have been very much like, wow, this is weird. I wouldn't have met, let's say, one person if I had decided to push and go to Vietnam, and I wouldn't have made this connection. Like, it just, there's so many things one after another that probably wouldn't have happened if I went down the path of being controlling and not letting go.
Right. Yeah. There's so many, I think, great takeaways from this, but I want to go back to even like when you were talking about finding your values, because I think that, no matter what it is, I think like part of the work I do, this is one of the main things we get into is figuring out like what is important to us, right? Because so often it's like we go and we do all the things we think we should be doing, like get the degree, do the marriage, have the kids. Like we have this whole planned thing that we think we should be doing, right? And we realize that we're not always content in those paths. And so I think everybody has to find their way. And I don't think it's anybody's place to tell somebody else how that way should be. I think that's an internal thing that you asked. Really, those 3 questions you asked were powerful, because those are the questions I would tell my clients, because we're not taught to do that. We don't go through, grade school that with them going, I mean, maybe when we're little, we talk about what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And then somewhere along the line, we lose all that because we start saying, be practical. Okay, go be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, an accountant, do all the, but if anybody wants to do solo travel or be a musician or be an artist or, we sort of kind of tell people that's fairy tale. Like you can't do that. You can't, and here's my thing on this. Whatever it is you do, if you can't figure out how to do those things you're talking about, and you still got to do these things over here, do these things over here, but figure out a way to find to incorporate some of these things that are important to you in your life, because you're going to be much happier doing the things you hate doing if you're incorporating some of the things that are important to your value system, right? And for you, obviously, travel, you wanted to see the world, and that was some kind of a calling you probably didn't know until you started doing. Then you realize, oh my gosh, that was what I needed to be doing. I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out.
Exactly. Why even 9 months to make that first one-way ticket? There's so much fear. With all of this, I think that's the biggest issue, the biggest challenge.
Right.
And I've heard a lot, why aren't you afraid to travel by yourself, especially as a woman? And I say, I didn't wait for the fear to leave. And it's one of those.
You just did it anyways.
The 3 things that embracing the solitude, making those meaningful connections, and then taking the fear with me, as what it was the suitcase, my backpack, and the fear. We're all 4 of us. We got on the flight together, and over time, that fear of, okay, well, what's going to happen? Like, how I don't know anybody in this city. How am I going to make this work? And so, as it continued over the last 2.5 years, that fear became smaller and smaller. The fear of the unknown and the uncertainty and the not having the security, the comfort blankets that we wrap ourselves around, and so that I say, don't wait for that fear to go away. If you're going to be waiting, you're going to be waiting a long time for that fear to go away.
And if you're wanting to do something, I mean, the fear's there anyways, right? So if you're wanting to do something bad enough, you're just going to have to recognize that it's going to be there. I think, another thing too, Tsvety, and I'm sure you do this anyways, is that you just assume that, I mean, you kind of already talked about this. You said, things didn't go a certain way, but you made a really good spin by saying, I recognize that when things didn't go that way, other things came into my space that may have not have happened had those things gone as planned. So I think the whole deal here is just embracing the idea that something's probably not going to go as planned, right? Like something's not. And if you just assume this is no different than in business, really, if you think about it, like your venture, let's compare that to business. If you just assume going into something new that there are going to be hiccups, there's going to be problems. You know, I used to, when I was in Mary Kay, I'd always say there's potholes on the road because no matter where you drive, you're probably going to hit a hole, right? You're going to hit
Oh,
something.
good. I
So
love
I would
that.
tell my consultants that you're going to hit a pothole. Just assume that you're going to have a setback somewhere. Your job, you mentioned this adaptability. Your job is to adapt. Your job is to figure out how you're going to get around, under, through, whatever you need to do, but get through the freaking pothole, get through it. So if you just come in with the mindset that I'm going to have these things happen, but I am confident enough that I have the skill to get through whatever it takes to get through. And the more you do that, as you've done, the easier it becomes to do that. So it's really just building that confidence up to say, I know it's already going to be there, but I'm okay with that because I'm skilled. I know what to do to get through it,
Yeah.
or I'll figure it out, right? I'll figure it out.
You just encompass that so well. It's exactly such a big lesson, and it's so interesting that solo travel taught me that. I haven't seen that in any books anywhere. By the way, people keep asking me when am I writing a book.
You do. You need to write one day. You need to put something
I
together.
do.
You would have probably so many stories to tell too. Just all the story. You could just do
Yeah.
a whole book on stories you've learned. Talk about the lessons and the stories, you know?
100%. And I mean, just the most random situations leading to such beautiful moments. And like, as my mind keeps shifting, as the definition of what a home is, or what being alone means, all of these definitions, like I definitely could write and talk about for hours, is just how we're so tied to just one aspect of it, and especially, for example, the home one. And because a lot of people ask me, well, like, don't you miss sleeping in one bed? I'm like, fair point. Yeah. No, this is good. But what I think that's just like, I wouldn't even call it a sacrifice anymore, but it's like a small sacrifice for me to live and to continue to grow as a person, and to see more different people, and continue this more open lifestyle.
Yeah.
And if that means that I don't sleep in the same bed and then that's what that means. I mean, it just, for me, that's a very, very small sacrifice. And I know for a lot of people, just be like, oh no, I couldn't do that. And there's so many other things, and
Sure.
that I'm not comfortable with that. But then kind of coming back to like my value of who I'm becoming and how I'm growing through this experience is so much stronger than tying it to just comfort and to being stuck to that life that I was before. So it's overall the idea of home, just because it's so comfortable there and it's safe and it's great. But what I've learned is that I can make these mini homes everywhere I go.
Yeah.
In the mindset, and just shifting my idea of what a home is and what a home's supposed to be, and how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah. Well, and the truth be told here is that you can decide any time to stop traveling and make a home. That's the thing. I mean, this is not, this is where you're at in your journey right now. And I've known several people that have been like this, been travelers. And then at some point they decide, okay, now I'm ready to settle down. I feel like I've done enough. I mean, my thing is this, it's like, I would tell my kids, I would be like, go travel, go do the things you want to do. And when you're ready to settle down and you feel like you've had some experiences, then do that. Because I don't know that we were encouraged, to do that when I was young. That wasn't really the norm. Maybe it is in other countries, but here in the States, I don't feel like that was the norm. Be like, hey, after school, go off and travel, the world and all of that. Was like, you go to school, you get married, you have kids, get a house, all the things, right? And it's fun because I watch my kids, and obviously they're not doing, near as what you're doing, but it's fun because I watch their experiences and what they're doing. And it's so fun. Like I'll, when they go out, I'll be like, send me pictures so I can see what's happening. Cause I'm like, what's it like there? What's the weather? Like when my daughter, she's in Paraguay right now. And I'm like, what's the weather there? And like, what's the ground look like? Cause I've never been. Like, I want to know. She's sending me pictures of like, she's like, it's kind of dry. And she's sending me pictures of the church thing. And then one day she's like, we went to a restaurant and I'm like, look, this is like a really nice restaurant here. Like, because we have no concept, right? Because we're in our space and we don't have concept of what it's like outside of that. So I sort of feel like I get to kind of vicariously live through them, and watch them kind of travel through the world. So it's fun. And to you, I say you've got the space and the time to do it in the drive, do it. When you're ready to settle down and go back into a bed in one place, you can always go back to that again.
Exactly. That was also my thinking when I started this too. I was like, I could always come back. There's still things in storage unit.
Right. San Diego's great, by the way. I've been there a couple of times too. I like it there too. I would ask you a question because let's talk about this like minimalism idea, because I actually talked about this in my book. And I talked about it from the point of letting go of what isn't necessary. Like I realized whenever I was back in 2012, when I don't know that I realized it right at 2012, but I did eventually realize this, that whenever I got diagnosed with this crazy medical condition, I had, this nerve condition. I had this practitioner was like, what, were you doing at the onset of all this? And I got kind of offended by it because I thought, what? Like I'm running a business, I'm being a mom, like I'm doing all the things. Well, then later on,
you're doing everything right. Just the same.
Check. I was doing okay in my career at that time.
Yeah.
But then I realized, in hindsight, when I later on down the road, when I was writing out my book, when I started coming to this realization that there was a lot going on in my life that wasn't really healthy. Like I was running a lot. We were going from point A to point B. I had 3 kids, 16, 12, and 8, multiple activities. And I was like homeroom mom, field trip mom, the PTA mom. Sometimes I'd go on the same field trip 3 times with each kid, in 1 week because they all were going, but they had to go in different groups because they were in different age groups. And so there was just a lot of running around. Yeah. And we were in the fast food lane a lot, just a lot of, I feel like unhealthy patterns going on. And I realized in that moment that it was contributing, to what I was doing. And so in my book, I went back and I talked about this idea of, in my sense of minimalism, letting go of things that were not necessary to my happiness, to my health, to the things that were important to me. And one of those things for me at that time was narrowing down the activities my children were doing. Like really coning in on, do we really need to be doing, because they were good. They excelled at a lot of things. And then it became really hard to determine which thing to make them pick, And so it just got down to, we need to get down to the bare minimum, pick the main thing that you really, truly, there's the question, you enjoy doing, right? That adds
makes
value
you feel alive.
I don't know that I said those words exactly, but it was like, what is the thing that you really enjoy doing, And so we kind of honed down, but minimalism is a big thing because it ranges all the way to what you're saying, putting everything in storage, letting everything go down into the bare bags and traveling. So I'd like to know from you, because our audience listening to this may go like, what is this? What was this like for you that you've said so much in this, but maybe tell us a little bit about just that part of it, like letting it all kind of sit aside and going.
It was scary. I'm not going to lie. It was sort of, when I put my things in storage, I realized I was like, oh, well, that I can't really, it's not going to be easy going back to that life. But I feel like subconsciously I did it on purpose. I made it harder for myself to go back to this life where I was feeling so stuck and so empty, and I didn't want to go back. The fear of going back to that life was bigger than the fear to put everything to be a minimalist and to give this a go. Yeah. And so when that happens, when the balance beams sort of shift, where it's like my fear is bigger to live the way I used to live than to go into the unknown and to put everything, like just minimalize my life. That was kind of the turning point. And I said, okay, maybe I can live a little bit more, a little bit. I know how I'm making it sound.
I know it's good.
maybe I live a little bit more out of a suitcase for a little while. And like I said, like I didn't think it was going to end up being 2.5 years. I started small, and that's another thing about, when you start with a smaller goal, in a way, it's a little bit more achievable, and that's what they teach us, right? And so, what I wasn't thinking, okay, I'm going to live out of a suitcase for 2.5 years. I was thinking, let's just do 3 months,
Yeah.
and that's the same sort of mentality that I try to teach people when when they start to think about maybe they want to do like a solo travel trip. And so I say, well, how about you start having lunch by yourself? Or maybe you take a day trip to the city in your state that you haven't been to yet. And you
Yeah.
kind of start building up that confidence, and you start to you start to spend time with yourself, and you start to realize, like, okay, I'm going to put the phone down. This is going to be intentional. Like, I'm going to be putting myself as the person that I want to reconnect with. And I think that's so we're not doing that enough. We're always distracted by the phones. We're constantly sort of distracted by what we got to do, checklists, doing whatever email that comes through from work. I got to fix this. And so I wasn't giving myself permission to spend any time by myself before. It was too scary. It was too unknown. And once I started to make those smaller steps, started putting my phone down, looking up, being more present in while I travel too, because I know that a lot of people, they're saying, okay, I'm a solo traveler, or like I'm going there solo, but they spend like their entire time kind of being connected back to the States,
Right.
or they're on their
Right.
phone checking their email, like, oh,
Yeah.
I got to do this for work. And then it kind of defeats the purpose of the travel experience, because then you're just in, let's say you're in Portugal or Spain, but you're really doing the same things that you were doing in the
At
States.
home. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said that was another very mindful, intentional portion of how I wanted to do this experience, is that I was like, yes, I'm going to still be connected to my family and my friends, but I'm taking this time for me. I'm going to kind of put the phone down whenever I'm eating and just look up, see if I can make connections, see what's going on, be just the presence. And then from that kind of opportunity that I allowed to open up to the world. And that's when I met so many people and just had incredible experiences that way.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So yeah, like not closing yourself off and not doing your same patterns that you do at home, but while you travel, is really important too.
Yeah. Okay. So one other thing I want to ask you before I want to ask you a fun question. So somebody's made up their mind and they're ready to embark on this. And maybe they're not going to they don't have plans to go the 2 years yet. They're just going to do like a Tsvety Roo decision here, where they're going to say, I'm not even going to put it in the storage yet, but they're just going to go traveling. So let's talk about some safety things really quick, because I know this is important to you as a solo traveler. So maybe a few pointers for somebody traveling so they know what to do, what to kind of prepare for, and make them put them at ease a little bit.
Yeah. So number one, do your research. So I would say pick a country. Maybe that's the one that you have always wanted to go to. And, why do you want to go to? Know your why of why you want to get there. Just generally, like maybe it's like, oh, the beaches are lovely. And okay, so you know why. Do your research around the cities, the public transport, what kind of, is it dangerous? Is it whatever, so like kind of, there's so many forums and reviews online. Early on, I made a mistake when I went to Cyprus, is because I didn't realize that they have their biggest holiday is Easter. And so they celebrate pretty
Largely.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're huge on their Easter, especially on the Greek side of the island. And so I got there the day after Easter. And so I couldn't, it was like getting taxis was difficult. getting to my Airbnb. The Wi-Fi wasn't working. I called and I said, I have things like I need to stay connected. I have projects to do. And she's like, yeah, no one's coming till Wednesday. And this was Monday.
Goodness. Wow.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
Talk about letting go.
Talk about adapting. Called up Airbnb. And I was like, you guys need to put me somewhere else where there's Wi-Fi working. Then that place had these ginormous ants. I mean, like the craziest stuff. They're all like the trifecta of not where anything wrong.
Yeah.
But I didn't do my research about that particular city being super new, and they were just still building a lot of it, like a lot of resorts around it, and everything. The infrastructure wasn't settled. I didn't do my research around the holiday or how that impacted the whole transportation wise. Didn't do there was just so much that I learned from that experience about, okay, you have to be prepared, especially as a solo traveler, because these things are going to happen. You have to rely on yourself whenever these type of situation comes through. And then so once you do that, once you do your research about everything, and specifically also like the type of neighborhood that you stay. I almost stayed in Lisbon, Portugal. I had a neighborhood where fine during the day, but at night the ladies come out, know.
Okay, yeah.
Some working ladies come out.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not part of that party.
I'm a hard pass on that one.
Yeah.
And that's because I read all of the kind of the reviews that are for each individual place. And so then the second most important, so do your research, and second most important, follow your instincts when it comes to situations. So I don't go down dark alleys in any country. And that's, even in the States.
Right, sure.
Like, if it looks very kind of sketchy, I'm going to go all the way around. You know, I'm good. I don't need to put myself in situations where that is. And then obviously following your instinct for that way. And you have to, it seems like it's common sense, but being a little bit more reserved about these things, kind of being aware of your surroundings. I have now developed a sort of sixth sense that I met a few people here in Bulgaria, and they were saying something like, oh, do you guys remember the street that we passed? And I would be like, yes, because now I pay attention to my surroundings to a very, very astute level. And then I kind of listen better. It's just, there's, you being aware is very important too.
Yeah.
And then the third one that I think has helped me, I will never know, but I believe so, is the whole body language and the way I walk.
Yeah.
Don't kind of walk with intention. Don't seem meek or kind of don't make yourself smaller. Kind of pretend like you know where you're going. And 90% of the time I've never been to this city. I don't know a single soul in it, and I just pretend like I've been there before. Sure. And that's huge when you think that in your mind, like I've been here before, I've done this, even though you had to come around a couple of times around the block until you find your actual destination. Still, that attitude makes such a big difference, because I think like when people see you, that you're walking with confidence, you're walking with intention, you got your shoulders back, you're just like, I got things to do, I got places to be. I had a lovely guy on a plane give me a compliment. He's like, do you do martial arts? And I'm like,
no, I'm just a traveler. I got it down.
Never done martial arts in my life, but he's like, you look like you can beat up somebody. I'm like, that is exactly what I want.
That's what you want. You've got, and I think these are great. I think what you just said is important, really. I mean, anywhere here, even too, I think it's always good to be, because I've taken self-defense classes, but I've also been in, like, I was in a class not too long ago where a policeman came in and was talking about like, what do serial killers look for? Like it was that, like Ted Bundy's and stuff, like all the names we've heard and all of these things you're talking about, like this walking comp, they look for certain women, they look at the way they walk, they look at these kinds of things. Now, we're not talking serial killers here, but these things transfer across, that obviously how we project our voice and talk and all those things, people are like, I'm not messing with that one. like I don't want to even go down that one's going to be just way too much work,
Exactly.
so if you're walking like these are really just all great things that you're talking about. I think here it just can make a difference in the safety of where you're anywhere you're at, really.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
and then like obviously don't draw attention to yourself. Don't like
yeah,
I don't get drunk by myself,
yeah,
especially in new areas.
thank
Like all
goodness.
these sort of common sense for most of the time. It's not. This is now. I don't look at it as a vacation, because I know like when people travel, it's like, oh, I'm going on vacation. I'm gonna let
Yeah,
loose. I'm just
yeah.
gonna like
You're like, I'm
do.
exploring. I got things to do.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, this is part of my life now. So this is
Yeah,
just
it's your
every
journey.
day.
I love it.
So I'm not gonna be all sloppy drunk every
Yeah.
day. So
I would
it's
be like you too. I don't even like to get drunk anyway. So I wouldn't, for me, I just don't like it. So I would want to be full capacity so I can explore and be,
puts you in a very
enjoying.
vulnerable position
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Especially by yourself.
especially by yourself.
Good
But yeah,
stuff.
but you
Yeah.
can totally drink, which is what happened. I met this incredible girl from South Carolina when I was in Bali just now in January. And we just like we ended up being those two people that they didn't so in Bali they do guides, tour guides,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they take you around to the waterfalls and the main attractions there. And it turned out that she was a solo traveler and I was a solo traveler, and both of us didn't want just our own guide. And so they
Okay.
put us together because they wouldn't put us with the couples because then we'd be
Yeah.
feeling or whatnot. And I was like,
Right.
this is so unfair. I feel
So you guys
like
got partnered up.
we got partnered up,
Wow. What's
and
out?
it was so fun because I had these flip-flops with the American flag from Walmart. I was wearing those and I got into the car, and as soon as she saw them, she's like, I think we're going to be besties for the rest of the
Oh,
day.
fun.
And we did. We drank our little lychee martinis. I'm sure I'm saying that long. Lychee. Mhm. It's one of those fruits that it's like tomato.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, no, it was amazing. That was a great connection
Yeah.
too.
Very
From
cool.
the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And I hadn't met an American for a while there. And I was like, oh my God, hi. It
Fun. How fun.
was cool.
What one last question I want to ask you, like what has been your favorite place so far? Your favorite travel destination?
I'd say the most recent one that really pops up really fast is northern Thailand. Like
I've
just
heard that.
the city of Chiang Mai. Oh my goodness, something about it. Not so there's the food is amazing. I love Thai food. It's so it's still you're able to get around totally fine with English. Everyone speaks English, and but it's held on this heritage, traditional the Thai traditions there. You kind of see the Buddhist monks walking
Yeah.
around, all the different temples. It was fascinating to me. I really loved northern Thailand.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, this has been amazing. And I know you and I could talk forever because I don't know, I'm sure you've just got so many stories. You can be like, tell us another story. Tell us another story. Another. We have to save it for another time, right? We have to do it again. If
I would love.
somebody listening to this today wants to get in touch with you, maybe they want to follow you, your journey, reach out to you. I don't know, whatever that looks like. Where would you like us to send them?
Both my Instagram and my website, and it's Tsvety Roo, and I hope you have the link
We'll
down.
get it in the show notes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
We'll put it in
perfect.
there.
Because
Yeah.
I gotta spell it a little bit,
Yeah, I want to just make sure they
tougher.
know where. I always say, just say it at least so they know kind of, but we'll make sure when we get the show notes in there
So
that we
yeah,
have it in there too.
SvetiRoo.com or Tsvety Roo on Insta. Those are the two places. Please get in touch with me. I love hearing from people, and I also would love to hear what's stopping you just for doing this by yourself. That's also fascinating to me. A lot of people come up to me and say like, I could never do what you do, and I say, why? Like, talk
Yeah,
to me about it.
right.
Let's dig deeper. And is it yet you think it's not going to be fun? Is it what is it that's kind of like
Yeah, it's just the unknown probably is for most people. It's just the not knowing, right? Like Big bass. Well, you are definitely an inspiration and I love it. I think it's cool. If you're enjoying it, I say all the power to you, girl. Just do your thing, have fun. And
Thank
when you're
you.
ready, you can go get the bed again and get back into the traditional home again. But in the
Exactly.
meantime, explore the world and do whatever makes you happy. You have an opportunity. So go for it.
Exactly. Oh,
It's
thank
great.
you.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's been
God.
fun.
Yes.
Thank you. And appreciate all your knowledge and wisdom too. That's great too for anybody, kind of, I think this is a good story, even for somebody just maybe sitting on the fence about starting anything really, about like, just make that decision and accept and be adaptable, and it'll work out,
Yeah.
you'll learn,
Please
you'll learn
don't be
something.
hard. Yeah, please don't be harder on yourself about your age or
Yeah.
like, oh, I've never done something like this before. Well, that's okay. They just kind of be more compassionate with yourself. And I think that's so we're not doing that enough. We're distracting ourselves too much. And we're distracting ourselves from finding out what's good for us. And I think once you kind of unleash that, you're going to be able to find so many different parts of yourself and grow so much.
Good stuff. All right. And of course, we do want to say to our audience, we appreciate you and thank you, of course, for tuning in. We hope you find hope you found this episode both inspiring. I can't talk today, and informative. And of course, if you do, you know what to do. Go do all the things, hit the like, subscribe, comment button, share it, do whatever you feel inspired to do so we can keep sharing all these amazing stories. And as I always say, in order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, be kind to one another, and we will see you next time.